Hello folks, and welcome back to my video gaming channel. Today we're talking about Sega's OutRun. Brilliant. You know, there was a time before OutRun was released in September 1986. This was the time when video games were yet to discover the joy of just driving. Back then, the reference point for driving games was pole position, which came out in 1982 with a host of innovations, colourful pseudo 3D graphics instead of a top-down view, a qualifying lap and a track based on a real circuit. The arcade experience also included a fully seated cabinet with a steering wheel and a gear shift. Pole position was competitive and unforgiving. If you hit another driver or a roadside obstacle, your F1 car would just immediately explode. Now, OutRun was nothing like that. It was laid back and casual, offering a leisurely drive more than a race. It had blue skies and a stunning scenery and a convertible Ferrari. OutRun was welcoming rather than challenging. And on top of that, the game was designed by the legendary Yu Suzuki, who quotes, "Unlike rigid racing games, I was able to create a new genre of driving game where you would drive one-handed with a beautiful girl by your side, listening to the car stereo while leaving the competition in the dust." I think it's fair to say that Yu Suzuki is a little eccentric, but he is also a legendary game designer behind a host of other influential games, including Afterburner, the brilliant Virtual Racing, and the totally amazing Virtual Fighter, and not to mention Shenmue on the Dreamcast. He is the daddy. Now, Yu Suzuki says he isn't really a gamer, but it's fair to say that he does love fast cars, and he liked that Burt Reynolds movie, The Cannonball Run, which was his inspiration for OutRun. Originally, he wanted to tour the US along the same cross-country route as the movie, but heard it would be nothing but a changeless backdrop of desert, and therefore switched to Europe instead, expecting more variety. So he flew to Frankfurt and rented a BMW, and over the course of 2 weeks in 1985, Suzuki visited not only Germany but also Switzerland, Italy, France and Spain. Suzuki had a small team and only 10 months to program the game, leaving him to do most of the work himself. Legend. The game was a critical and commercial success, becoming the highest grossing arcade game of 1987 worldwide, as well as Sega's most successful arcade cabinet of the 1980s. The deluxe cabinet version, 7 feet long and weighing 770 pounds, had a hydraulic powered seat, and its vigorous shaking during crashes was thrilling enough that first time players were eager to make a mistake just to experience it. It felt almost like a ride, except it simulated reality. Suzuki built a driving model based on actual parameters such as torque, horsepower and tyre grip, which made for satisfying controls that were never frustrating. And for the graphics, he used a technology called Super Scaler, which would rotate and enlarge 2D sprites to give the scene a 3D effect by making objects such as a road or trees come at the player very fast. This was also used previously in Hang On. But the number of elements in OutRun is much higher, creating a world that is fuller and more detailed. And this smooth scaling creates a real sense of speed of stuff racing past you. Sega's arcade hardware at the time was leaps and bounds ahead of the competition. The visual feast is also accompanied by a soundtrack so good that it took on a life of its own. The 3 main tracks, Splash Wave, Passing Breeze and Magical Sound Shower, have been endlessly remixed, reissued and reimagined through every instrument and musical style. They were all written by Hiroshi Kawaguchi, whose collaboration with Suzuki had started with Hang On. Blimey, I hope I said his name right. In fact, the music is so important that it's actually the first thing that the player encounters and can be selected via the radio that appears after pressing start. Excellent. Yu Suzuki's approach created an instant classic that defined arcade racing games and influenced game design for decades. OutRun has been ported to numerous video game consoles and home computers, becoming one of the best-selling video games at the time and selling millions of copies worldwide. And it spawned a number of sequels, including Turbo OutRun in 1989, OutRunners in 1992 and OutRun 2 in 2003. And then there's several non-arcade sequels, including OutRun 3D in 1988 and OutRun Europa in 1991. There was also a game called Rad Mobile, which was also released in 1990, which is very similar to OutRun, and we'll show a little clip of that later on. OutRun is considered one of the most influential racing games, cited as an influence upon numerous later video games, playing a role in the arcade video game industry recovery and providing the name for a popular music genre. Therefore, this video is dedicated to showing you all these ports and sequels of OutRun. So firstly, let's continue with the original 1986 arcade version of OutRun, and then we'll look at all the ports. And then after that, we'll move on to all the other OutRun sequels, non-arcade sequels, and again, the associated ports. So let's buckle up and let's get started.
Get ready. Get ready. Get ready.
$1 a game. I'll play it once.
Get ready. Get ready.
There was also an OutRun 3D which came out on the Sega Master System in 1988. This is the second of 4 OutRun racing games developed for the Master System. Although based on the original and similar design, it is a separate game and not a three-dimensional version of the original OutRun. The game was one of 8 Master System titles developed for use with Sega's stereoscopic 3D glasses, but it also features a standard 2D mode which can be accessed by pressing the pause button when the title screen appears. The driver interface and controls in OutRun 3D are largely the same as those of its predecessor, with 2 separate manual gearboxes and a top speed of 293 km/h. The overall road network is also arranged in the same fashion as the first Master System OutRun game. Starting from the same tropical landscape named Coconut Beach, on each trip the player is likewise presented sequential with 4 junctions, each with a choice of 2 turns, with the goal of ending at one of the 5 destinations before the time runs out. The landscapes, however, differ in varying degrees to the original, and the shapes of the roads are unique. Also, unlike the original title, OutRun 3D allows the player to choose between 3 difficulty settings: beginner, average and expert, which changes the weather as well as the road layout of each leg of the journey. Graphically, the game resembles its predecessor and, like the original, features a red Ferrari Testarossa Spider. But most of the sprites were redrawn and a variety of new visual elements were included, such as a long tunnel, roadside shorelines and certain weather effects, as well as an exhaust backfire animation on the player's vehicle. Let's have a look at the game. Turbo OutRun was released in the arcade in 1989. A follow-up to the 1986 OutRun, it was released as a dedicated game as well as an upgrade kit for the original OutRun board. Like its predecessor, Turbo OutRun has players driving a Ferrari, this time a Ferrari F40. Players traverse a set route across the continental United States from New York to Los Angeles. In addition to a time limit, Turbo OutRun also adds a computer-controlled opponent driving a Porsche 959. The turbo in the title plays a factor as players can press a button to receive a brief turbo boost of speed. Various power-ups which increase the vehicle's attributes can also be chosen at various stages of the game. Ports of Turbo OutRun were released for home computers as well as Sega's own Mega Drive. Let's have a look at all these ports, starting with the arcade release.
Checkpoint.
Battle Outrun is a 1989 video game released by Sega on the Master System. Despite being part of the OutRun series, this game plays little like its namesake and more like Chase HQ, where the objective is to ram the cars of specified criminals. A notable feature is to enhance the car's attributes by buying upgrades that are inside of a truck that passes at certain moments and must be entered from the rear. Anyway, let's have a look at the game. Let's go. Rad Mobile is a racing arcade game developed by Sega AM3 and published by Sega. It was first published in Japan in October 1990, followed by an international release for arcades in February 1991. Rad Mobile was Sega's first 32-bit game, using Sega's System 32 arcade system board. Similar to Turbo Outrun, the concept behind Rad Mobile is a race against opponents across the United States. Players must race across the country while also avoiding police cars. At certain points in the race, the road forks, allowing players to skip several stages. The game's weather and time of day changes, sometimes requiring players to turn on windshield wipers or headlights. Rad Mobile was also the first appearance of Sonic the Hedgehog, appearing as a decorative item hanging from the driver's rear view mirror. Credit is usually given to Yu Suzuki and his Sega M2 division, the developers of OutRun, which established the formula of Rad Mobile's gameplay. But in this case, Suzuki was not listed, which I found quite unusual. The game was also ported to the Sega Saturn in December 1994 under the name Gale Racer. A similar game with a two-seat cabinet was also released in 1991 as Rad Rally. Rad Mobile received mixed reviews. Critics praised its 3D visuals but criticised its gameplay. Anyway, let's have a look at the arcade version and then we'll look at the Saturn version. OutRun Europa is a racing video game developed by Probe Software and published by US Gold for the Amiga, Amstrad CPC, Atari ST, Commodore 64, Game Gear, Master System and ZX Spectrum in 1991. Levels in OutRun Europa are set across Europe, with the player passing road signs for places like Paris and Berlin. The player must escape from the police using a variety of vehicles, from the standard sports cars from Ferrari and Porsche to motorbikes and jet skis. OutRunners is a racing video game developed by Sega AM1 and released in Japan, Europe and North America in 1993. It constitutes the third release in the arcade OutRun series, that is if you ignore Rad Mobile, and was ported to the Mega Drive in 1994. Let's have a look.
You're in car number 1. Ready,
OutRun 2019 is a Mega Drive Genesis only pseudo-sequel to OutRun that takes place in the future. The objective is to race against a time limit in a rocket-boosted car across 4 different stages around the world. Like the original OutRun, there is a fork in the road before each checkpoint, but there can also be forks within a single route. OutRun 2 stays true to the race format from the 1986 original, in which the player is behind the steering wheel of a Ferrari sports car with a friend in the passenger seat through 5 of 15 stages. And as before, the player can choose their course and the soundtrack. There are 7 Sega licensed Ferrari vehicles for OutRun 2, including the Testarossa from the original game. The soundtrack was completely rearranged, bringing in 7 pieces of music with styles ranging from instrumental rock to upbeat ballads. The original 1986 music is also unlockable. OutRun 2 has been overhauled with 3D graphics and a local network multiplayer system. Let's have a look at this brilliant game.
Get ready.
OutRun 2006 Coast to Coast is a racing game developed by Sumo Digital and published in 2006 by Sega. It is the 9th title in the series and the final one to have a physical release. OutRun 2006 is an updated version of OutRun 2. The game is split into two parts, a conversion of OutRun 2 SP and Coast to Coast, which includes single player races and challenges and local network and internet multiplayer. OutRun 2006 was released in Europe and North America on the Xbox, PlayStation 2 and PlayStation Portable in March to April 2006, but was actually delayed until June for the PC. In Japan, OutRun 2006 has only seen a PlayStation 2 release, albeit retitled as OutRun 2 SP. The game features an online mode for up to 6 players. However, the online service for the PC, PlayStation 2 and PSP versions of the game was discontinued in 2009. And the Xbox Live servers went offline on April 15th, 2010 due to the discontinuation of Xbox Live for the Xbox. Anyway, let's have a look at all 4 versions of this game.
Keep passing cars! Let's start! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Woo-hoo-hoo! 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 Woo-hoo-hoo!
Get ready.
OutRun Online Arcade was developed by Sumo Digital and published by Sega. The game was released on April 15th, 2009 on Xbox Live Arcade and released also exclusively in Europe for the PlayStation 3 a day later via the PlayStation Network. The game was fairly well received by critics. Reviewers generally felt that the game was a faithful adaptation of the OutRun 2 series of games. The upgraded high-definition graphics were also praised. Critics felt that the game was worth the price, but some felt that the amount of available content was lacking, considering the cards and stages available in the series of other titles. Sadly, OutRun Online was taken down from the PlayStation Network in October 2010, and then it was removed from Xbox Live Arcade in December 2011 due to the expiration of their contract with Ferrari. So let's have a look at these 2 last entries in this OutRun series video. Well, there you go. That was my video covering most of the brilliant OutRun games. I hope you enjoyed my video. I have to say I'm a massive fan of the OutRun games. I've made many an OutRun journey over the years, whether it's in my local arcade or in one of Shenmue's virtual Hong Kong arcades or via my PSP. I loved all the platforms, but I have to say it's not quite as good as playing OutRun on the deluxe cabinet in the arcade. It was a truly an amazing experience. That Yo Suzuki, he's definitely the Steven Spielberg of Sega, spot on. Okay folks, that's a wrap. Now please remember to leave a comment, press like or better still subscribe to my small YouTube channel. I have enjoyed playing and collecting video games from the early 80s, and I certainly hope to be sharing more and more of my gaming experiences, so please subscribe. Until the next time, thank you for watching, take care, bye bye.